Hello, I'm Bill LuMaye, and thank you for watching Community Matters. We hope you'll continue to watch as we discuss issues facing our community and provide you with the resources and information needed to find solutions. The popularity of Asheville has spread beyond North Carolina. And for many people across the country, Asheville is a cherished area to live and visit. As we all know, tragedy struck recently when the area was devastated by Hurricane Helene. Today, we're discussing Asheville's recovery efforts with Mickey Poandl of Explore Asheville. And welcome to the show, Mickey.
Thanks so much for having me, Bill.
Well, I must ask first, are you a native of Asheville? And if not, how did you get there?
I have been in Asheville for about 7 years. I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area. And like many people who moved to Asheville, I started off as a visitor. I traveled to Asheville for a vacation and fell in love with the natural beauty and the art scene. And I felt really drawn here. And every year that goes by, I love my community more and more.
Well, it is a destination for a lot of folks, whether it be to, as you did, put your roots down, but just to travel and enjoy it on a vacation. Now, you have an organization called Explore Asheville. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Explore Asheville is what's called a tourism development authority, and most communities in North Carolina have an organization like ours. We were created by North Carolina state law, and we are the receptacle of the lodging tax in Buncombe County. This is a tax that visitors pay when they stay overnight in hotels or Airbnbs, and that funds our organization. And by law, we spend 2/3 of our budget on promoting the destination and the additional 1/3 on community projects like soccer fields and the community theater and things like that.
Well, we all know about Asheville and the area being hit by the hurricane. What's it like there now? I mean, it's been a while, but I've also seen a lot of news reports that still looks like it's devastated.
Yeah, so what we've seen is that there is a pretty widespread perception that Asheville as a whole is still a disaster zone. And unfortunately, that's not true. There are definitely areas that are going to take a lot of time to recover, like the River Arts District and Biltmore Village, but 90% or more of Asheville is open and standing and stunning and very eager for visitors to return.
Well, just in time, right? It's that time of the year when people go on their vacations. What's it like for you in the community? I always, I visited Asheville, but you tell me, it seems like a pretty tight community and people kind of pull together. And I can only imagine that's probably true with the devastation of the hurricane.
Yeah, absolutely. As devastating as Helene was, I think the silver lining was that it drew our community closer together. And as you said, we've always been a tight-knit community. Asheville is a small town of 100,000 people, and we've always kind of punched above our weight when it comes to culinary and James Beard chefs and an artistic community and all of these things. And in the aftermath of the storm, which hit us during the busiest tourist season of October, leaf season, it was particularly devastating for small businesses and creators. And the response was extraordinary. I mean, we had James Beard chefs like Ashley Shanti and William Disson putting on rubber gloves and handing out food to residents and first responders. We had artists in the downtown area, which was relatively unaffected by the storm, lending some of their gallery wall space to River Arts District artists who were displaced. And then during the holiday season, we saw the same thing with businesses that were washed out in Biltmore Village, getting pop-up space downtown and with other business owners that normally might be seen as competitors. But in Asheville, especially at this time, we really pulled together as a community and realized that, a rising tide lifts all boats. And that really has been the cornerstone of our recovery so far.
Well, you have the tourist season coming up. I think it's important for people to understand that you watch the news reports, and it does look like it's still devastated, but it's not. What are some of the attractions that might be available for people today to go see in Asheville?
Yeah, so one of our biggest attractions is the Biltmore Estate. This is the Gilded Age castle that George Vanderbilt built in 1895. Amazingly, the house was completely untouched by the storm. The intricate gardens, which were designed by Frederick Law Olmsted, and the conservatory are still standing. Spring is coming up, and that means Biltmore blooms when thousands of wildflowers bloom. And so I think that's going to be a really popular attraction, especially this spring, because they're actually bringing the King Tut exhibit to the estate. And so people will be able to see another era of opulence and royalty in the context of more recent American royalty. The Omni Grove Park Inn, which is the iconic red brick resort on top of Sunset Mountain, is completely open, and that includes its subterranean spa, which is one of the finest in the world. And then we have, the well-known outdoor attractions, the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is the 469-mile road that is itself a national park. A lot of sections were closed in the immediate aftermath of the storm. Most of those sections are open now, so you can go see the North Carolina Arboretum, the Folk Art Center, dozens of trails and lookouts and hikes for people of all experience levels. So we're really looking forward to spring as this literal season of renewal, and that goes for the natural world and for the community too.
Well, it sounds like a ton of fun. Don't go anywhere though, Mickey, because we got a lot more to talk about, which we are going to do right after we do this. Welcome back. We're back with Mickey Poandl to discuss Asheville's revival plans. And Mickey, I got to ask, I mean, I don't know, did you view you had the hurricane go through there, but after you catch your breath, do you view that as a challenge or an opportunity? I mean, you have to rebuild. How does that process even work?
Yeah, I think in the immediate aftermath of the storm, it was all about just saving lives and saving infrastructure. We had an amazing community response, neighbors helping neighbors, people pulling out their chainsaws and cutting up logs that had crossed roads. And obviously, there was a massive federal and state response as well. Churches, nonprofits, everybody kind of pulled together. And then, yeah, even as many places had to shutter, there were actually new businesses that opened. There's a brand new restaurant in Black Mountain called Hell or High Water that is so named because they decided that failure was not an option and they were going to open in the midst of the hurricane regardless. And so that's a brand new restaurant in Black Mountain that's based off of Foothills Meats, which is an amazing local sustainable butchery that practices biodynamic, regenerative agriculture, which is very much in the spirit of what Asheville does. And so that's just one example of the culinary scene, not just rebuilding, but thriving in the aftermath.
Well, if I may ask, what is the state of businesses in Asheville right now? Are you seeing more businesses? I mean, how many people have closed? How many people are open?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, before the storm, we knew that hospitality, which includes hotels, restaurants, and also all of the retail and tours that depend on visitation, it made up about 20% of Buncombe County's total GDP. And again, with the storm hitting during peak season of October, immediately followed by the winter, which is generally the slow season around here, businesses were hit really hard. And luckily, we're seeing that, maybe about 10% of the businesses we closely track, which again are hospitality focused businesses, they have seemed to close permanently. and then another 10 or 15% are temporarily closed. And if they can make it through to spring, and if the visitors come back, which it seems like they are starting to do, they're probably going to be able to make it, which is really great news.
That is great news. Now, Explore Asheville, you had mentioned earlier that one of the biggest things that you do is promote the area. Has that changed at all? I mean, in light of the hurricane, do you have to change your message, or is it the same message and people just come?
It was definitely a message that was changing day to day, and it was a message that we crafted in close consultation with our community. In the immediate aftermath of the storm, the message was pretty unambiguously, do not come, because it's not safe and because we need to clear the area for first responders to save lives and help people and distribute resources. And then after that, there was a period of time where the city still didn't have water largely, and a lot of places didn't have power. But even in those earlier days, we were already starting to hear from local businesses, we're not going to survive this if we don't have some visitors coming back. And so that's when we started messaging in a little more nuanced way, explaining to people that the Asheville area is opening back in stages and pockets. And there are some areas that are probably not great for visitors to go right now, but there's lots of other areas like downtown and West Asheville that were relatively unaffected and where, businesses and shop owners would be more than happy to see visitors walk through the door. And now that we're about 4 months out from the hurricane, I would say that the message is pretty unambiguously, Asheville is open. We're ready for your business. We're ready for visitation. We had Eric Church, who's a big country star, and he's from Western North Carolina. He spearheaded the concert for Carolina back in October that raised $100 million for our area. And he actually was very kind and lent us the rights to his song, Carolina, which is all about the Blue Ridge Mountains calling you home, whether you're from here or not, because we hear from so many people that come to Asheville that there is a power in these mountains and in this community that draws you here. And even despite the devastation of the hurricane, that magnetic pull still exists, maybe even more so now than before. And so we're encouraging people to do that and encouraging them to, of course, plan ahead as you would for any trip and make sure that if you have a specific place in mind, that it is open. But by and large, Asheville is still standing and still stunning and welcoming visitors back.
Sounds like you're open for business, Mickey.
Absolutely.
We got another segment to go, so don't go anywhere. You stick around as well. Welcome back. Mickey Poandl of Explore Asheville is back with us to discuss upcoming Asheville attractions and events you definitely don't want to miss. Mickey, before we get into that, let me ask you this. You mentioned in the prior segment, 20% of tourism is part of the economy there in the Asheville area. So I'm assuming it's a pretty big deal. What are the numbers? Do you have numbers that looks at, well, this is where we were and this is where we project to be? I mean, how is that looking?
Yeah, so visitation is the foundation of our economy in Asheville, either directly, like hotels or restaurants, or indirectly, simply because the sales tax and other things paid by visitors helps fund our public services for residents. And even a third of our Explore Asheville budget goes towards community projects like soccer fields and community theaters and things like that. So it was definitely a huge hit. And we are starting to see those numbers come back. In the immediate aftermath of the storm, a good deal of our local hotel rooms were actually still being occupied, but they were being occupied by first responders and other folks coming in to help the region. It was actually the short-term rentals, the Airbnbs and Verbos and things like that, that had flourished during COVID when so many people were escaping to areas like the mountains and they wanted to be a little more secluded. And there was a huge increase in those types of lodging options. Those are actually the folks that are getting hardest hit right now. So, it remains to be seen, and I think we'll have a better idea in the spring because January and February are generally the slow season for us anyway. So I think it remains to be seen how much things will come back, but absolutely, the number one thing that people can do to help Asheville right now is come and visit, enjoy a meal, stay for a night or two, go shopping, talk to the local bartender, tip your server, all the things that you would normally do on a Blue Ridge Mountain vacation. Just do it right now because you can be confident that it's more helpful than ever.
Well, let's talk about some of the things folks can do from the Triangle heading out to Asheville. We talked about some of the bigger attractions earlier in the show. You have some hidden gems, some secrets, Mickey, that you can pass along?
Absolutely. So I think people know that Asheville has a really amazing culinary scene. They might not be aware that just last month we got 4 James Beard nominations. William Disson at the Marketplace, which is kind of the original farm to table restaurant. He got nominated for Outstanding Chef. And that's not just in North Carolina or the Southeast, that's a national category. We also had Ashley Shanti, who was a chef that competed on Top Chef and previously received a James Beard nomination. She has an amazing little restaurant on the South Slope called Good Hot Fish that's really based on those coastal North Carolina fish camp restaurants, amazing hush puppies and fried fish. But she's also Appalachian. And so she brings in some foraged ingredients and some, secret mountain recipes that have been passed down for generations. And that's the type of thing that I think has always made Asheville special is that, it's really high quality food, but presented in a very casual, down home way, because that's just kind of the spirit of things around here. One of my favorite new spots in West Asheville is called Potential New Boyfriend, and that's a dessert bar, wine bar, and listening lounge. The owner, who goes by only one name, which is Disco, has set up a variety of 70s huge speakers and a vinyl turntable where people can actually come and play their own records if they want, or go to the library of options. And so there's really cool music playing. There's shag carpets on the floor, and you can have a glass of local natural wine and the best tiramisu you'll ever have, pretty much. So there's all kinds of hidden gems like that. That's a little storefront in West Asheville. People might not even know it's there unless they stumble by it. So and that's a brand new place that opened in the aftermath of the hurricane. So, nothing can suppress Asheville's creative spirit, whether it comes to culinary or the arts. There's an amazing exhibit right now in Biltmore Village called Post-Diluvian. It's all local artists who have made works based on salvaged debris from Helene. So we're talking about pieces of buildings and trash and felled trees that these artists are recombining into new works that are very moving and very personal to those artists. That's open at the Tracey Morgan Gallery in Biltmore Village right now. So there's all kinds of things that are a little bit off the beaten path for people to explore.
Well, we don't have a lot of time left. As you look ahead for, like, say, concerts, music events, festivals, anything that we should be made aware of?
Yeah, so there's a ton of great spring and summer events. There's a great outdoor venue in downtown Asheville called Asheville Yards. Big acts frequently go through there. We're looking at Modest Mouse this summer. We're looking at AVL Fest, which is an annual festival that started a few years ago. That activates about a dozen different music venues, big and small, across the whole city. We can look forward to that in June. There's going to be the Skyview Golf Tournament. This is actually the oldest Black golf tournament in the nation. It was started about 50 years ago right here in Asheville at the Municipal Golf Course, which was the first golf course in North Carolina to racially integrate. That's still going to go forward. So we definitely encourage people to check out exploreasheville.com. We have a great event calendar. We also have resources to tell you exactly what's open and what's not, what roads are open and which ones aren't. And luckily, most are. And same with trails. We have dozens, if not hundreds of trails in the area. Most of them are fortunately open. The portion of the Appalachian Trail that runs past Asheville just reopened the other day. And so we definitely encourage people to check that out and to come back, be part of the comeback.
Sounds like a wonderful time. Before we go, though, for those who can't make it to Asheville, I know they'd like to help in some way. Is there a way we can donate if we can't make it and enjoy the limelight of Asheville?
Yeah, absolutely. So shortly after the storm, we established the Always Asheville Fund, and this is a fund that gives direct grants to small businesses in the area. Just last weekend, we had Stars Serving Up Love, which was a celebrity tennis event in downtown, and that raised about $1 million for the Always Asheville Fund. So anybody can go online and donate to the Always Asheville Fund. They can also visit the Love Asheville from Afar web portal, and there they're able to donate or buy online from local artists and retail shops and food purveyors like Poppy Popcorn. So, number one best option is to come on over and visit. But if you're not able to do that, we definitely encourage you to send us some love virtually.
Well, Mickey, what a pleasure. It's great hearing all this great news, too, about Asheville. And thank you for your time today.
Thanks so much, Bill.
You bet, and thank you for watching. We hope you've enjoyed today's show. And if you have any questions or would like to know more, visit our websites at RaleighCW.com and myrdctv.com. I'm Bill LuMaye. Thank you for watching Community Matters. We'll see you next week.